Hello everyone, and welcome to the showdown between the Vampire Coast, who's going to be led by Luther Harkin atop his mighty Terrorgeist, and the Empire, who's going to be led by Toddy and his powerful mustache. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So as far as the build goes, we're really going to be trying to counter the archer play because most Empire players who really know how to take out Vampire Coast are going to bring a ton of crossbows and range tools, and crossbows are just so damn efficient against the Empire. If you look here, these bad boys do have 160 range, and I think most of these standard guns for the Vampire Coast has around 145 or 140. Yeah, it's 145, I'm pretty sure, across the board for the handguns. So the crossbows can outrange you, they have better arcs of fire, so especially on maps like this where there's a lot of terrain and other nuances at play, those guys are going to be able to get some really good value against you. As such, you do respond in kind with mortars. So mortars are very good against pretty much all the elvish factions, good against the high elves, the wood elves, dark elves, and it's pretty efficient against light infantry and enemy missile units. So yeah, we're going to be setting them on the crossbowmen the entire game and really trying to net our value while using, I think we only have one true handgun unit. Yeah, we have the Black Spot Regiment for now, which I think if you are going to bring a handgun against the Empire, these ones are the best because they have anti-large, armor piercing, and melee, and also have charge defense. So Empire Knights, other mobile Empire tools aren't going to be quite as efficient. So yeah, we have a front line of deckhand mobs just to kind of hold back the state troops. They're not going to win any beauty contest, but these guys are basically just there to, fight and die for Luther Harkin. So they're going to be having a good time, I'm sure. On the flanks, we have a couple scurvy dogs, and pretty much anytime you play against Empire, you need scurvy dogs or fellbats or something to disrupt their missile line or artillery pieces. I mean, typically there's going to be crossbows, silver bullets, Sterling's Revenge, all that kind of good stuff. So you definitely need quite a bit. We have two deck droppers with the handgun. So this is after the Festog update. So these guys have been pretty substantially nerfed in terms of accuracy, damage output. They have 80 speed now instead of 90, and I believe they had an accuracy nerf and a cost increase. Can't quite remember if they had a cost increase, but they're still really good. So the deck droppers with handguns, you use these guys in the back. You set them in the back of your formation, and when the Empire Knights and other tools try and shut down your artillery pieces, you then counterfire them. Now, you need to stay out of range of the crossbowmen because they'll pretty much get torn to shreds instantly, but for the most part, if you sit back and use them defensively, or just for battlefield control, you can get some really good value. Luther Harkin up in the skies here. He's going to be flying dirty on his Terrorgeist, and it's a little bit risky to bring him on the Terrorgeist. He's a big target. Empire very good at isolating with nets of Amnitok and cannons, and of course, they have very powerful flying duelists themselves. So of course, you can see Toddy over here is ready to party, so it's a little bit risky, but nonetheless, he can still be very good. He's a good duelist. He can pretty much, I'm sure he could outduel Toddy. It's just with the healing and his pistol and the HP pool and just, his poison, I feel like he would have the edge in that fight. But we're going to find out. Two groups of deck gunners. Deck gunners have pretty good range. They can outrange the crossbows, and they can shoot at the Empire heavy cav and other targets. And that's pretty much it. Mortars in the back. We do have a Vampire Caster, of course, with Invocation of Nehek and Drowned Dead. And that is it for my army. So for the forces of the Empire, this is a really solid build. I love it. I mean, this thing's just straight up awesome. It's got the Bright Wizard for the Fireball, so he's going to be blasting my casters, Luther Harkin. The Vampire Caster is actually a really good choice as well because it only has 30 armor, and I'm pretty sure Fireball does a lot more damage against light armor. So Fireball's going to be dropping downtown. He's got a whole front line of crossbowmen just going into the sunset. I think in total he has 6 groups. In the back line, he does have Spearmen, Swordsmen, and yeah, just state troops. You don't need much more than that. I mean, Spearmen with the shields and Swordsmen can really hold their own against deckhand mobs, and I'm pretty sure Swordsmen beat them 1-1. In the back, he does have the Sterling's Revenge, and these guys are always tough to get rid of. They're pretty powerful in melee, have good armor piercing. They're going to be poking Noctilus, I'm sure. Big old Toddy up here in the skies with his regeneration, which is great. I think he's definitely the better pick if you're going to be going for a Flying Lord against the Vampire Coast, simply because he regenerates. So if I'm focusing with cannons, carronades, guns, all that good stuff, he's going to be healing. We got a Witch Hunter on the ground, going to be accusing me of some heresy, which makes sense for sure. Luther Harkin definitely a little bit heretical. And over here on the flanks, we got 2 groups of Empire Knights for my opponent. So guys, let's get this show on the road. Definitely going to be a fun one. So the crossbow shooting in a little bit at the deck droppers. I take some, very topical fire, but nothing to write home about. And I'm able to fall back there without taking too much damage. But the mortars are raining some hot lead, doing some decent damage, getting some good splash here against the swordsman, getting some kills, and already generating substantial value against these crossbowmen. So like I said, the mortar's a very good choice against any sort of missile play. It does give you a bit of a counter, because typically the Vampire Coast guns cannot counter the Empire crossbow play. It's just not very efficient. The crossbows have better arcs of fire and better range. So the first of the crossbows, going to be shooting through the trees at the zombie pirate deckhand mobs, just pretty much hitting whatever they can. But the Witch Hunter does get a little bit crunk. He scoots forward. He takes a pretty big volley here from the deck droppers as well as the black spot. So we get a little bit of damage, but it looks like he did pop the opal amulet. So some very good micro from my opponent. And in the meantime, I'm just falling back with the zombie pirate deckhand mobs, which was actually a bit of a mistake. I should have pushed them up because now my opponent has more room. If you look here at the battlefield, he can move his crossbows up here. Whereas if I had my units fighting up here, he wouldn't have been able to get in range of my deck gunner. So that was actually a big play mistake right there. In the meantime, up in the skies, you can see Luther Harkin is going to be accused of heresy for the first time, but of course he has means of healing, so it's not going to be catastrophic. And the Sigmar Sun's rushing through the forest to fight these zombies. They get the downhill charge. Luther Harkin comes in here. I was like, you know what? This is pretty much a free fight. Oh, that sucks for that guy. But Let's get in here. Let's fight. We have the cover of trees, so even if he does try and snipe out Luther Harkin here, we're going to have some substantial cover. But a little bit of fire coming in. Luther Harkin definitely getting poked. Some hounds on the flank trying to get up and around, but the Empire Knights are able to head me off. But on the other side, we get a good engagement with the Fellbats. They have temporarily shut down the Sterling's Revenge, and I'm basically just grabbing them and moving them back and forth, trying to shut down as many missile units as I can. Now, if memory serves, I think I had another Doggo lurking somewhere, but perhaps he's in reserve or he'll be coming in later. But the deck gunners are going to be shooting at the crossbows. I knew the key to success in this game was going to be shooting all of the crossbows. If those bad boys were able to live and just focus on all my guns, I would just be losing massive value. Luther Harkin's going to be taken in the front line, and the Vampire Fleet Captain basically just using him as kind of a band-aid. Wherever I do have an opening or the state troops are able to get through, I'm just going to be sending him in and hoping he can really just kind of block things up. So I do also use the taunt, which is going to make those spearmen very weak, and my deck droppers are having to fall back, but my opponent does find an opening with the Empire Knights. A beautiful charge coming in here, and he gets a really nice lancing charge on the deck gunners, which is pretty much the worst case scenario. These guys are the true definition of a glass cannon. Very, very squishy. You can see they're being run down by these valiant Knights of Sigmar here. Always good to see that. I mean, even when I'm playing against Empire, I just love to see them do well because Empire is such a cool faction. But anyways, deck gunner is pretty much offline. The other group's going to be scurrying and running a little bit. I do have some halberds in reserve here and some halberds up here on the high ground who I am going to be pulling down to collapse on those guys. And here's a good example of using the deck droppers defensively. Now, I'm out of range of all of his crossbows, and he's getting some really good value pushing up on me here, but nonetheless, we're shooting in here. We're really tearing apart the Empire Knights with the deck dropper shots, and Luther Harkin's going to be coming in with an invocation of the heck, and yeah, he's coming in. He's going to get that charge, and he gets a great rear charge. He's going to poison these Knights. They are being torn to shred by the deck droppers in the black spot, but unfortunately, some swordsmen have gotten through, and Toddy himself coming in to go after the Vampire Caster, but it looks like at the last moment, he's going to be pulling up in the skies, and my opponent just milking every ounce of value he can out of these Empire Knights, doing a beautiful job just charging into the back line. So at this point, I have to pull back the black spot, and I also have to send up my reserve halberds, because the front line is certainly crumbling. The Empire is very, very aggressive here. I still have some mortars in the back line here and here, so the mortar's doing good work. You can see the crossbows are very beat up across the board, and I did have some scurvy dogs come in the fourth quarter, and I think these guys ran away from the Empire Knights and finally came back, but we're able to chew up these crossbowmen, and at the very least, they're serving as a bit of a distraction. Now, we do get a great engagement here. Toddy does get kind of bullied here. I hornswoggle him, I trick him. Luther Harkin's going to be going in for the kill, so Toddy did overextend a little bit, and Luther was able to swoop in and get a ton of damage on Boris in conjunction with the deck droppers, but the deck droppers had to get some good volleys on Boris, and as such, they took quite a bit of crossbow fire, so you can see my firing capacity here is definitely getting a little bit tattered. The Witch Hunter's in good shape. He is going to be accusing me of heresy, but this is too good of an opportunity to pass up. I have to get Luther. I have to chase Boris. You can see Luther's going to be shooting with a pistol. It will be taking some fire from the Sterling's Revenge. You can see my bats are also getting really beat up, but Invocation of Nehek really going to kind of ensure I win this fight. Toddy's poisoned. He's taking a lot of damage from both the pistol as well as the melee attack from the Terrorgeists. So from here, I'm going to be chasing Toddy off the battlefield, and hopefully it'll be going well. We'll find out. So the bounce power is pretty damn even. Very, very close game. I am using my summons of the gunnery mobs right here to kind of muck things up. But the crossbow play from my opponent is just inexorable. He's just pushing forward. He's doing a ton of damage with these guys. And every time I summon something or have a unit in the open that isn't fighting, he's just focusing it down with just merciless efficiency. In the back, the mortar is also compromised. That's a bit of a dicey situation. That was kind of my real tool against the crossbows here. Aside from that, I mean, I have some zombies. I have my fleet captain. But he still has this Bright Wizard, and on top of that, he does have a Witch Hunter. So despite the fact that Toddy is going to be retreating back to Mindenheim to rethink his game plan from Luther Harkin, my opponent still has a lot of leadership and a ton of crossbows. And I was like looking at their ammo right now. I was like, God damn, he has so much ammo. He's done a really good job kind of conserving here, and he's just kind of slowly, methodically wasting my front line. However, I do have quite a few summons left. I have the Zombie Pirate Deck and mobs, some halberds here, and you can see my deck droppers with the handguns are able to absolutely destroy those Empire Knights. So for the first time in the game, I really do get rid of my opponent's mobility, and we actually have a really juicy open target right here. So this is going to be the Bright Wizard, and we're just going to try and poke him down a little bit before the crossbows get in position. And the last of these Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs, the standard variant, are going to be pushing up here, and I think that was my last non-summoned Zombie Deckhand mob there. Anyways, Luther Harkin has completed his quest, and you can see with that, the bounce power is going to be coming back into my favor just a little bit, but it's pretty much dead even. The crossbows all still online, good ammunition here. My mortar crew, unfortunately, is going to be falling, and I'm trying to fall back with the black spot. I was kind of like, okay, maybe my opponent will waste all the ammo on other targets, maybe shooting the Vampire Caster, and I can kind of sneak the black spot back into the fight. But you can see here, I believe these are the Brave Sons of Sigmar, who took a massive beating from Luther Harkin earlier in the game. And these guys are back online. They're going to be fighting my Vampire Fleet Captain, and I should be able to, do a little bit of damage. The Vampire Fleet Captain is actually quite strong in melee. The black spot's shooting them in the back, and they don't have shields. So you can see that the Sons of Sigmar here are getting beaten down pretty badly. But Luther Harkin's coming in from the distance, but he had to go pretty far to chase Toddy, and suddenly the battle's looking pretty doable, right? We have the Witch Hunter here. The Bright Wizard has taken quite a bit of damage from my firepower, and I have some zombies pushing back his crossbows. It might be a situation in which we're able to stabilize the Sigmar Sons down to 28 models, the 73 Deckhand mobs, plus the Vampire Fleet Captain should be able to finish those guys off. And it looks like he does have some swordsmen coming in. So if those swordsmen are able to kind of catch up and get engaged in melee with the black spot, they should be able to beat them, which is going to be a little bit dicey. But Luther Harkin coming in, I think at this point I decide to go after the Witch Hunter, but nothing's free here. The Witch Hunter can 360 no scope with his pistol. He's going to be hitting hard. Sterling's Revenger here as well, so it's really not a good situation for me. Despite the fact that I'm in ahead on the bounce of power, I mean, Luther Harkin has a lot of targets he needs to take care of back here, but if I target the Witch Hunter, I get shot by these guys. If I target the Sterling's Revenge, I'm going to be taking fire from all sorts of angles as well. And aside from Luther, I mean, he really is going to have to put this game on his back because the rest of my army is pretty much tattered and gone. I mean, I have the Vampire Fleet Captain as well as the Black Spot, the Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mob with handguns back here, but the old boy Luther, can he do it? We're going to find out in the next episode, guys. No, in the next, 5 or 10 minutes, we'll find out if Luther's able to pull this one out. But a really good fireball coming in. Luther might be able to matrix this one, but it looks like, oh man, that Terror Guy swing almost got clipped, but he is able to dodge that. Incredibly close moment. So right now I'm going to be trying to run up into the trees, hide a little bit. I am at my healing cap just about though, which is going to be tough. And I don't have too much Winds of Magic left. I believe I had enough for one more summon. And you can see the remnants of my Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob who was summoned here is going to be pushing forward and trying their best to deal with the crossbowmen. And yeah, just pulling back right now with the Deckhand Mobs. Both of us are basically just regrouping. Luther Harkin up in the skies is just cackling. And in the meantime, I'm just trying to get my bearings, trying to shoot whatever I can. But the crossbow is just trading so efficiently with the black spot. Luther Harkin's going to be diving in here. I do get a nice little route here on the Spearmen. And I also get a 2-for-1. I'm able to jump onto the Sterling's Revenge. But man, these guys just have just awesome leadership. And they're also immune to psychology. So I really thought I could terror out these guys, but I actually forgot that they're immune to psychology. So these bad boys are going to be fighting to the bitter end. Crossbows providing some much needed Overwatch fire. And the Witch Hunter with the Opal Amulet and the Slippery, quite durable here in the melee combat against the Deckhand Mobs, but he is able to fend off Luther Harkin. And the rest of the fight here is very, very messy. You can see the Vampire Fleet Captain is going to be getting into those crossbowmen. The remnants of my halberds, I do have 57. The black spot here, the old pirates themselves are going to be shooting in, but yeah, they're not having a good time. And I do have the bats up in the sky, so that is an option to kind of chase off crossbows. My opponent doing something very good here in the late game. He's actually separating all of his forces and not really stacking them. So wherever I go, I'm going to be taking that crossfire. It's much in the way that, you should play dwarves and that you want to have that, healthy crossfire. But the bounce power in my favor here. I mean, I have Luther Harkin. He's pretty healthy. I do also have this Vampire Fleet Captain who's going to be getting in there and attacking the crossbowmen, definitely making Luther proud. But he's pushing in. Luther Harkin trying to find an opportunity. But this Witch Hunter, I mean, I thought about going in for the Alpha Strike, but I knew that if I did that, I could take a fireball in the crossbows. But in retrospect, maybe it was worth it. But I am able to isolate his spears. So the spears in the back were fighting my Deckhand Mob. So I come in with Luther Harkin. I get the Fellbats. I get those free charges. And that's 30 spearmen right there. And the other group, I think, has 30 or 50 left. I mean, it's quite a bit. But a fireball's coming in. It's going to be hitting the Vampire Fleet Captain. And look at that. That is going to do so much damage. Incredibly powerful stuff. And I believe I'm going to be summoning a Zombo or something. Yeah, it looked like there was a zombie summon going off. It wasn't this one. This was, I don't know what this zombie summon. That must have been a couple minutes ago. But we are able to finish off the spearmen with shields. I'm still ahead in the bounce power. The Vampire Fleet Captain is doing a really good job. But the fireballs are just normalizing the game. I mean, I was so ahead, but those fireballs doing so much work. Plus the Witch Hunter with a couple rounds left could easily probably polish off my Vampire Caster. So now it's time. Luther Harkin's going to have to get in there and fight. I'm going to be going for the Caster. Bats coming in, just everything going in. And I tried to get a breath attack right there, which I think would have finished off the Bright Wizard, but it kind of bugged out and didn't go off. So I was super bummed about that. I was like, damn it, that was my opportunity to get the Bright Wizard off, break him, and then go and kill the Witch Hunter. But now, since it didn't go off, it had that kind of bugged animation. I have to run into the trees and kind of rethink things. So Luther Harkin's going to be going into the trees. I do get the breath attack on the Witch Hunter, and it doesn't do a ton of damage. The bats are disrupting the gun line, and I'm just looking around for an opportunity to strike and get that 2-for-1. And it looks like my Vampire Fleet Caster is able to actually break off the Witch Hunter here. So Luther Harkin is going to be going after the Witch Hunter, who is broken. He's slippery, though. He's a slippery lad. He's 43 HP. But you can see here my Vampire Fleet Captain actually kind of getting slapped on by the Sterling's Revenge, who have been the true MVPs for the Empire so far. So the Witch Hunter is pretty much toast. Luther Harkin has done a great job with that. But now Luther is going to be coming back in here. He takes a fireball to the face. And for the first time in the game, the Empire, the brave Sons of Sigmar, are able to pull ahead in the bounce of power. Luther Harkin's going to be coming in, going in for the kill. But there's so much crossfire coming in. And yes, he does have 80 armor, but still, crossbows, it's not super heavily armored to the point where the crossbows are just going to be near inefficient. But yeah, I'm taking that firepower. It's really starting to tank my leadership. Excuse me, voice a little bit raw from the Eternal Challenger League. And Luther Harkin's going to be going in for the kill. So we're going to be trying to get this Bright Wizard, Luther Harkin, going in, trying to claw after him. But the spearmen and the crossbowmen pulling their swords, getting in there, just tar pitting him. And the Sterling's Revenge, really the name of the game here. The remnants of the spearmen with shields going to be very good against Luther Harkin. And that's going to be all she wrote. So very well played to my opponent. That was just a down-to-the-wire game. I mean, a couple mistakes on my part, cost me the game, but it could have gone either way. I mean, there was just minor details that just turned that game at the very end. The Sterling's Revenge still being online, the fact that I wasn't able to get that breath attack definitely hurt, but that really, I mean, it most likely would have not won me the game anyways. He was in a pretty good position with his Sterling's Revenge, but yeah, that was just such a close game. And I really do think the build was pretty solid. I think that it has all the tools you need to really kind of take on a build like this. And it almost worked. It was very close. But yeah, the mortars did good, perhaps offsetting them a little bit more and also acknowledging that this was a very kind of a terrain heavy map. So it was a little bit tricky for me to kind of get the optimal shooting angles with my deck gunners and other troops like that. I think maybe cutting one deck gunner and just kind of, it'd be easier to protect one, because protecting both of those was a little bit tough with all the crossbow fire and the Empire Knights and things like that. Cutting one and getting more Scurvy Dogs and more Fellbats, I needed more harass. I needed at least 2 Scurvy Dogs and maybe 2 Fellbats to really get in and disrupt this crossbowman line, because he was able to really just kind of defend himself pretty well. But yeah, super well played. Really awesome game to Ichiban, which means number 1 in Japanese, but I believe he was saying his name on ladder is Imperator, and he's definitely a very, very solid player. Incredible games. We actually played a couple games, so a lot of fun stuff. So very well played to my opponent, Ichiban or Imperator. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Vampire Coast versus Empire game, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.